All right, so let's go. So what are OKRs and why are we doing this today? So let's first understand that as entrepreneurs, business owners or leaders, we have been used to looking at various goal setting frameworks. For example, management by objectives, MBOs, or using SMART goals, or even using KPIs and KRAs and whatnot. Now, each of these frameworks does have its own set of advantages and disadvantages. Why OKR? Because it offers some very compelling reasons for you to adopt it as a goal setting framework for you personally or for your team or even for your organization. So how does that happen? One sec. Okay, so now, so moving forward, according to business strategy and OKR, if we look at any of our businesses, just a mere 5% of any company's employees are likely to be unaware of or fully understand. Okay, 95% don't even know what the business strategy is all about, what are they really, trying to achieve, and how whatever they are doing individually is actually tied up to their company goals. And I'm sure you can reflect on your businesses while reading the statement. So this is where OKRs actually come in, because if a team doesn't understand what the company strategy is, if they don't understand what is it that they need to do to really achieve the organization goals, then probably what you're using as a framework today for goal setting, for setting objectives and performance criteria is not really leading to results which you would like to see happening in your business. So setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible, says Anthony Robbins. So the O in OKR stands for objectives and KR obviously stands for key results. And it's a very popular and a proven framework for goal setting. Then aligning those employees to the goals that you have set for your business and getting the most out of it. And what does this really entail? Because we're looking at a very short period, like a quarter, 90 days, it's very agile because one gets to not just set the goals, not just set the results that we're looking at, which are achievable and probably a little bit stretched. You're actually creating a way where you don't look at an annual goal, though you can have an annual goal, but you give it a very short period for achievement. So you track the progress, you do your weekly check-ins and other reviews. You may also use some kind of a software management system where such goals can be tracked. So those are really what an OKR is. Now, OKR has been around since the 1970s. The concept was created by Andy Grove and it was popularized by John Doerr, who has written a book called Measure What Matters. And Google has been one of the earliest investors and adopters of the OKR concept. And we can see that there were many other companies like LinkedIn, like Twitter, etc., Spotify, who have followed suit. So it's one impression that you have that this is for big organizations. So that is a myth. Yes, big organizations are using this technique very, very successfully. But then it's not just for big organizations. Anyone can adopt the OKR methodology to really, get their results, the results that they really want in shorter time periods. And that's why a 90-day, a quarter cadence is what normally is recommended so that you can actually help achieve your goals. So the OKR supports a goal or a vision which should be measurable. So we all know about SMART goals. So they should be measurable, they should be specific, they should be achievable and realistic and time bound. But in OKRs, not only should they be all of that, but they should also be flexible. They should also be transparent and aspirational. And what we mean here is that when you're looking at goals which are very, very individualistic, if we were to create a SMART goal, it would be for an individual. This is what he needs to achieve. As an organization, you have teams and then you have people a part of it. But when we look at OKRs, then it's no longer just one organization. It is more about the objective that the organization wants to achieve, and then how specific individuals are creating their own specific OKR so that they are able to work towards that goal of the organization. And we look at a few certain examples, which will give you a little better sense of how this happens. So there it is. OKR is the main objective, which is the framework plus the key results, which is the way to get there. Now, this is the OKR cycle, which begins with identifying, like I said, the company's objectives, and then we use to create the key results. Now, these key results need to be monitored and updated periodically. The adjustments can be made to ensure that the organization, the teams, and the individuals are on track to achieving its goals. And this can only happen if we are reviewing it regularly. So it is an iterative process, and it is not uncommon for teams and organizations to go through several cycles before they really reach their desired outcomes. So one bit of a tip here, make sure that you're focusing on only a few, because if you have too many OKRs, then your attention and focus would actually go haywire. So the key to success is to maintain the focus and the discipline throughout the process and continually adjust the course as needed. So why OKRs? Because they give you all these benefits. There's improved accountability within the organization because now it's more transparent. People know exactly what they need to do to be able to meet the team and the organization goals. So people are more motivated. There's improved corporate direction because actually there's a direction which people understand because it is directly linked to what they do at a team level. There's 100% alignment between teams, departments, and then the organizational goals, which may not happen if you were to look at any business objective, because by the time those goals are set and people are given, what they need to do, the review is probably going to happen in 6 months' time or even a 1 year time. And then by then it's too late for you to really correct the course and make those things really happen. So that's why OKR being a shorter period really is helpful. Let's look at some 7 tips here on setting those OKRs. Number 1, like I said, everyone, which means everyone in the organization is responsible. So you need to ensure accountability that for everyone who's been assigned those objectives and key results, they know it and they are on top of it. Second, make your OKRs fast. So here I'm talking about smart versus fast. Now, FAST is an acronym that stands for, yes, frequently discussed, and that's the difference between a normal goal and an OKR goal and an OKR objective. So it's frequently discussed. It's ambitious because we want to do things which are the things that we want to change. So we pick up those things that we want to change and we look at certain more examples as we move forward. Of course, we need to be very specific about the goals that we want to make, and then it's all about transparency. So people are not working in silos. Everybody knows what the organization is moving forward, and then they see themselves as part of that entire framework. Number 3, master regular check-ins. So without those weekly check-ins, how would you know that are you on track? Is the organization on track? Are people who have been allocated the goals, they are on track? So it is only possible when you have mastered this regular check-in technique, and so put it into your cadence, put it into your schedule, so that everybody knows that yes, this is what I should have done by now, and the goals are on track. Also, when you do these check-ins, you will realize that some things may not be going as planned. So just imagine within a week, that's why we call it agile, we are able to course correct, we are able to make available resources or whatever needs to be done. So in a dashboard, if you're using a software management system for OKR specially designed, you can even see which are the ones that are green, which means, they are, moving forward the way they should, which are orange, which means they are quite there. And then you could also see which ones are red, because the red will show up as those that have not made any progress. Next, moving forward, working on resources. So it's exactly when you know what's not, what are the delays. So when you have a goal, an OKR objective and a key result, we also need to ensure that you have the necessary tools and the materials that are made available to the people so that they can really work on delivering that OKR. So make sure that you are working on the resourcing part. Next, make it a team sport, which means that bring in people together, they bring in their perspectives, they bring in their skills, they bring in their own ideologies. And when you have buy-in, when people are themselves creating, okay, to achieve this is what we need to do, then people just join together to make it happen. So let it not be like a directive which is pushed down, but more engaging, more interactive, more collaborative, so that yes, it becomes a reality also in the time frame that we have decided. Next, have patience, because it's the first time if you're probably going to implement OKR in your organization or in your team. So don't get discouraged if the results are not coming the way you have assumed, because it's perfectly fine. Go ahead with it, make the change, and over a period of time, you will make it more effective. And lastly, but not the least, don't equate your OKR progress to performance reviews. You may have many other areas and activities that employees need to do. So make sure that you're not using just the OKR part as the sole metric by which your company or your HR is measuring employee performance. So these were the 7 tips for actually, setting OKRs. Talk a little bit about the fast goals that I talked about in the previous slide. So goals need to be frequently discussed, which means they are being reviewed, the progress is being monitored, the goals are also in alignment with the objectives and the strategy. And if there's any deviation, we know it quickly. We know that, okay, this is off track, so we can do something about it. The A stands for ambitious. So goals which are ideally, enabling, they are aspiring, they are pushing people, they are getting them to do stuff which they haven't done before, or probably just encouraging them to reach the next level. So we're not talking about like, okay, jump and fly to the moon, but let's take that next step. So there, it is a step by step, and it is ambitious at the same time. So you could look at a long-term vision, you could have a long-term goal, but then to reach there, you probably need to take several steps. So what is that first step that you want to change? What are that one thing that you want to change? Bring that into your OKR, bring that into your key result, and then give it this quarter time for people to work towards it. And you can work towards it only when it is specific. So what needs to be achieved, and are you able to track it? Is it something you can measure? Only then you will be able to measure the progress and also look at the performance the way it should be. And lastly, transparent. Like I said earlier, in our regular performance management, we're not sure of who is doing what. I think only the manager and probably the HR know, as an idea of what each employee is doing. But when it's very clear that the whole organization is working towards these 5 OKRs, and 5 is fair enough, and then these 5 OKRs, how is everybody working towards it? So it becomes very transparent, and people start talking that language, that, okay, where are we with respect to this OKR number 1 or OKR number 2, and where have we reached? So this was a brief on, moving away from using all the features of SMART goal setting, but actually making it fast and faster. So what qualifies as a good OKR object, as you can see, is the way what you choose to bring in a positive change. So look at what is it that you really wish to achieve, and are they clear? Is it clear? Is it like, if I say this one sentence, is everybody in the organization going to really absorb it and understand it the way that you are making that statement? Is it challenging? Is it aspiring? Is it inspiring people, encouraging them to go to the next step? And is it giving a direction? So is it aligned with your organization's vision as well? So these are few of the things that you can use to qualify when you are creating a good OKR objective. Now let's look at an OKR key result. What's an OKR key result criteria? An excellent key result can be monitored over the OKR period, which is 90 days. It should be specific to the objective, and we'll talk about examples just in a short while. And it helps determine the success of the objective. So you've got to choose those key results which are going to really impact and make that objective come true. And the objective comes true is through the key results, which is really what you wish to achieve in terms of measurable steps and the progress that the business, the teams, the individuals are making. So measuring objectively is really what is a good criteria of a good key result. There should be no room for interpretation, because the metric has been created and it's so simple, everybody understands it, and hence there is no misinterpretation. So these are the 6 good key result criteria. Let's look at number 1. In so many words, we've already talked about it. It's measurable, it's relevant directly to the connected objective. Like I said, it's clear, it's a good key result, must be easy to understand and clearly communicated. It should be time bound, and this is coming from the SMART goal. And the time I'm talking about here is quarterly, 90 days. So whatever you wish to do, it should be achievable. It should be able to give us the key result that we are aspiring to achieve in that 90-day period. So it's not like everything needs to be 90, something can be 30, something can be 60, and some things can also be 90. It should be challenging, right? No, without any subjective interpretation. And finally, it should be actionable, because if you have an objective and a key result and your team doesn't know what they need to do, that's not actionable. So your team must know what they really need to know to be able to achieve their objectives. Now, coming to examples, this is really what is most important here for you to get a very good idea of how an OKR really looks like. So the O here is a qualitative, an inspirational, a time-bound goal. So look at the objective in the first column. Build a high-performance analytics team. So what do you think? Is this a good OKR? Please type in the chat box. Is this a good OKR as per you? Anyone? Is this a good OKR?
I think it should be more specific.
Build
about what are the performance goals exactly in numbers or in terms of some kind of a specific quantity.
Okay, all right. But does it qualify? It's clear. Is it clear? Can one see what it is? That I want to build a high performance analytics team.
But you need to still specify the high performance in numbers,
vague,
right?
It's vague.
It has to be quantified to precise.
What kind of performance, what level of performance, and how many members in the team?
Yes. So an objective actually is generic. Yes, Kanchan, it is generic. Okay. But what makes it specific is the key results. Okay. And I'll give you more examples. So let's see. Exactly, Aditya. This will work, though it's not very inspiring. The only inspiring part is that you want to build a high performance, which means this is something that we don't have as of now. So you want to build one, and that's why it is high performance. So what would be, how would we break it up into specific metrics? Let's look at the third column, where for the sake of this example, we have 3 KRs, which is key results. Number 1. So the number 1 KR is hire 10 new employees for the analytics team. Number 2, 95 completion rate of closed tickets. Now, where is this coming from? This is coming from probably in my organization. I don't have a high performing team. I need to hire the right employees. So yes, there will be key activities behind the key result. But if I want to build a high performance, I also want to make sure that I'm getting a great percentile when it comes to completion of closed tickets. So I've actually put it down here that 95% completion rate of closed tickets by the team members that we have hired within 30 days of hire, which means we train them, we tell them exactly what they need to do. They're already of a certain quality and candidature is awesome. And hence we can actually we work towards this key result that I need to get such people on board. I need to have some certain key activities in place such that my key result of 95% completion of closed tickets actually happens. So this is high performance that I am talking about for the new hires that we are going to onboard. And this is going to help me achieve the objective of building a high performing analytics team. So specifics, yes, and there would be certain more activities. Not everything is mentioned here. However, when we look at that, I want to not just build and maintain, I also want these people to stay on with me. So there's another key result that I have added here, which is achieve 90% and above score on the employee satisfaction survey for especially the new hires. Because it could be, and this is again, these KRs are basically very, very specific and customized to an organization's own requirement, because it is very much possible that you don't have a challenge when it comes to satisfaction, but probably if you were facing attrition, if this team was facing attrition, then this KR would actually mean a lot of sense. That I want them to be satisfied, and I want to make sure that they stay on. I want to make sure they're high performing. And of course, I need to build a team because the current team is slow or small and not enough to meet my goal. Okay, so my objective to build a high performance analytics team can be broken down into these 3 specific metrics. And then once we have the result, every week we know where we are going, we know what we want to do, we know what the status is looking like. That's how you use the framework to customize the OKR to your business need. Okay, let's look at some few more. Produce and roll out amazing content. Okay, here the goal is annual, and the annual goal key results look like publish 6 ebooks on business management, let's say, an example. Publish 25 blogs for our HR audience. Create 15 infographics on business strategy, or generate 5,000 visitors per week. So how are you going to do it will follow as a key activity. So there's the objective, there's the key results, and then you have key activities to make those results achievable. On the right, this is a sliding graph, as you can see, that probably at the time a status review was taken, they were 50% on achievement, which means out of 6, 3 have already been published. Out of 25, 8 blogs have already been written and published. Out of 15, 3 infographics on business strategy has been already launched. And out of 5,000 visitors per week, we actually have reached the target of 5,000 and crossed it of 5,040. So what you visual here is that you have an objective which is very clear, very simple, it not be very complex, so simple to understand and also aspiring. So you put in those words like amazing and stuff which really makes people excited about the objective that you have in mind, but it need not be too long or complex that people then don't understand, because you don't want to explain how you're going to get there. You just want to show that this is my objective. So look at considering that. Then next is an example of how do you build a high quality inbound lead pipeline. Here, what you can see is maintaining at least 500 leads per week, maintaining lead quality above 50%. So probably the quality is at 25% now, and the target is 50. And of course, a longer target is 75%, as you can see on the right side, which means that we are not going to stop here. We're going to keep moving forward. But for now, this is what I am aspiring to achieve. Similarly, increasing number of sessions. So you can imagine that if I were to achieve these key results, then automatically for me, the kind of high quality inbound lead pipeline that I wish to create for myself and my organization, that is actually going to happen. Let's look at make my organization a great place to work. Okay, so yes, I understand that as Kanika says, high performance is subjective, but when we look at the objective, it needs to be simple, and the criteria that was mentioned in the key results, like 95% completion rate, that would actually help you quantify what is it that you are looking at. So specification in the KRs, the key results, is where everybody knows that we are working towards this. Every person, whether it is the HR, whether it is the team lead for those group of analytics, whether it is the departmental head, whether it is a functional or a senior executive position, they all know that we are working towards this, and that is the only objective that they are reviewing week on week. So you can imagine the kind of focus that we are putting on a certain objective with set, right? So moving forward quickly. So a great place to work, let's look at, I want to decrease my turnover rate, which is the attrition rate. I want to decrease it from 30% to 10%. I want to launch a care for employees and their families program by Q4. Now you can see that these are now these goals are now quarterly. Similarly, I want to improve the effectiveness of the sales process. So these are some of the key results that one can look at, like increasing the pipeline conversion, or hiring, let's say, a vice president for that account, or even increasing the net new sales by so and so, improving annual revenue. So these are certain examples which you can refer to for yourself. But remember that whatever you are referring to, whatever objectives you are setting for yourself, your key results need not follow this. It's just a point of reference. You got to see what is it that your organization needs to achieve, and where are you in your own, in your journey, and what is the next step for you. So look at that using as your key result, and then put your entire team working towards it. So it's very simple, it's very focused, it's very clear. So almost at the fag end, tips for setting OKRs. So start with setting goals for the quarter, right? Not for the year, because when you start up, you don't want to like have a very lofty thing and immediately people say, oh, ye to hoga nahi. So imagine that. So look at starting and setting goals with the quarter. So small steps actually builds up the confidence. Identify the objectives, then define the objectives without ambiguity. So they should be clear. What is it that we need to do? And then the key results should be using those concrete KPIs wherever it is possible, so that people know what they are working for. Those are very measurable metrics, so it becomes easy. List what activities or what initiatives will help for you to achieve that key result. And lastly, track it weekly, not monthly or at the end of the quarter, because this weekly tracking is actually going to help you move forward. So thank you so very much for giving me this opportunity. And any questions, I'd love to take it now.